What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Crypto Blessing. You can find daily content on everything trending in the cryptocurrency market. We've rolled out an entirely new giveaway structure that we're doing every video. All we have to do is hit the right like threshold, as most of the videos in the past are getting awesome views. The structure is in the description below, so make sure once you're done watching the video to hit that like button and comment something of value. Let me know what you think about the content, because I'm constantly reviewing it and trying to make improvements. I've been keeping you up to date with all the partnerships that are happening in this market and all of the price action that's gone on in the last week, which was a breath of fresh air during all of those retracements that were ongoing for like 8 months. From Bitcoin ETF hype to the pump select altcoins saw over the past 72 hours, chopping Bitcoin dominance over 1%, which is really a big move for like a 24-hour period. Today we are diving into the much talked about Bitcoin ETF situation, or the Bitcoin Exchange Traded Fund situation. The SEC has to review and approve any Bitcoin ETFs, and there is not one in existence right now. So far, the Winklevoss twins, in conjunction with their BAT exchange, applied for a Bitcoin ETF and was rejected. That was largely expected to be rejected, and it did have an impact on the markets, or so it seems. Whether it's coincidence or not, I highly doubt it's coincidence. The price of Bitcoin was negatively impacted during its high of over $8,000, and we are still dealing with that retracement that was kicked off around the time that ETF was rejected. The ETF conversation is very hyped right now. It's being clickbaited right now as you watch this video across every platform imaginable, and I would make the argument that the quote-unquote average investor likely doesn't know what a Bitcoin ETF means. Increasingly, as you learn more about cryptocurrency, you learn that an understanding of traditional economics and traded markets are of great value to understanding the current cryptocurrency market. Asset classes have long been speculated over the impact of an ETF being used, only to see it unfold in front of them. Just like what happened with gold, an ETF was introduced and impacted the market a great deal. I digress. We're going to get into this a little later in the video. Traditional market knowledge goes a tremendously long way in understanding how, for example, an exchange-traded fund might impact the Bitcoin or cryptocurrency markets, and how specifically the design of that ETF could play a large role in its overall short and long-term impact. Regarding the current Bitcoin ETF situation, the rejected Winklevoss's ETF was geared to the everyday quote-unquote passive investor, many of whom are millennials whose understanding of economics comes solely from pop culture and their newfound interest in cryptocurrency. The price of the Winklevoss's ETF was 0.01 Bitcoin, and the implications of that ETF being approved were quite large. And moreover, the rejection was largely expected by market experts. I'll cover that more in depth in this video. But ETFs, otherwise known as exchange-traded funds, which is a way for big hedge funds to indirectly participate in a particular asset class via a product that offers more security. There are increasingly more institutionally driven products becoming available in this space, namely the Intercontinental Exchange new product, BAC. They run the New York Stock Exchange. There's a few other products as well that are really becoming available and coming into the collective consciousness of these large traditional investment organizations. An ETF combines the diversification of a mutual fund with the flexibility of a stock, all with much lower fees than mutual funds. It's an investment fund that owns a large swath of investments that are selected and managed by a fund manager. Those investments are then sliced up into millions of pieces and sold to individual investors on exchanges. So in essence, in order for there to be a Bitcoin ETF, whoever is offering that Bitcoin ETF would have to own a substantial amount of Bitcoin, as all of the Bitcoin ETFs that are sold will be backed by Bitcoin held in reserve. So it will naturally inflate the market cap. It's a really big deal for an asset like Bitcoin, and much like it was for gold when that was introduced. But back to this Bitcoin ETF and how the rejection of the Winklevoss ETF was expected. ETFs do have an expected impact on markets, but the specific Winklevoss's proposal would have been negligent and careless of an emerging space that's yet to be fully understood by a portion of those passively participating in it. Understanding traditional markets and thus ETFs as they are in other areas of application, is key to understanding the current Bitcoin ETF situation and how it will likely play out. Slightly off topic, but is a nice segue into what I'm talking about. A Reddit thread in the cryptocurrency subreddit talks about attention span and the need for speed that is increasingly an accepted cultural practice, pretty much universal around the world, and is an interesting fact that has been generalized to cryptocurrency. According to Google, 50% of visitors leave pages that take more than 3 seconds to load. Now compare that to the crypto world. Speed is crucial for crypto payments to succeed. This is very true, coupled with the understanding that most often it takes decades for a complete paradigm shift of the magnitude that cryptocurrency represents to really take hold. For example, porn and the airline industry both took decades after inception to come into prominence, and the same will likely be the case for the cryptocurrency market as a whole. Aside from the fact that we are nowhere near what is required for quote-unquote mass adoption. It's a bit of a meme at this point in my opinion. At less than $250 million in total market cap and less than 5% of the world aware of crypto's existence, the space has a long way to go and the road of success has yet to be paved. I say this often, the developments and infrastructure that are currently in place is not sufficient to effectively handle credit card processes or the processes of cold chain logistics around the world. Just take Walmart or Target or any big retail chain that has factories across multiple countries and that handles millions of daily processes. The infrastructure needed to satisfy those demands are not yet established by individual assets in this space. In time, sure. Once this space further develops and the assets are strategically in place to handle such big data, but we're not there yet. We are so not there, not even close. This is related to the ongoing topic of this video, that being a Bitcoin ETF. I've covered the idea of an ETF quite extensively since its inception into the collective consciousness of the investor base. And for those who don't have traditional market experience like I discussed, ETFs are great at pumping up the market cap of an asset, and their appeal is widespread, although this CBOE application is worth 25 Bitcoin, so it's not going to appeal to somebody like you or I, but exchange-traded funds are not perfect and they do have their drawbacks. And they're very dependent on the underlying assets that they represent. All of that has yet to be developed as there isn't a Bitcoin ETF currently in place, but the CBOE one is the best shot. However, there is speculation that this current application will also be rejected. An ETF is a product that's offered by an exchange that offers security and generally brings a larger volume and market cap to assets that begin to offer it. It's a widening of the institutionally driven products for large hedge funds, pensions, etc. Many compare what happened to gold upon the introduction of an ETF. It helped mature the gold market and transformed it into the heavily traded asset it is today. Fast forward to today, and we have a confirmed rejection of this Winklevoss BAT Exchange ETF proposal, which was an amendment to an existing offering by BAT Exchange and had a low entry point of 0.01 Bitcoin or about $100 USD, making it appealing to most anyone slightly interested in Bitcoin and would have cast a very wide net. The market, in my opinion, is too immature for such a widely available product, and the Winklevoss's ETF was expected to be denied without a doubt. Now we have another ETF application by the CBOE group that is backed by Van Eyck and SolidX. Those are three incredibly big names in the United States financial sector. Van Eyck and SolidX are going to back the CBOE ETF, providing both startup capital and insurance protection, unlike what the Winklevoss's ETF application had, along with a much higher entry point of 25 Bitcoin, appealing to only a select few investment firms. This new ETF proposal, although vastly different from the Winklevoss's ETF, is still largely expected to be denied. It's a dramatic improvement from the Winklevoss's ETF proposal, but will likely be delayed well into 2019 and then still denied, requiring the CBOE and any future applicants to reconsider the proposal in a variety of ways that have yet to be disclosed by the SEC. The truth is that the proposed Bitcoin ETF, by whichever group eventually gets approval, will be comprised of a number of issues that the SEC has yet to determine are traits that a Bitcoin ETF should have. The upcoming delays and seemingly inevitable rejection of this current CBOE Bitcoin ETF that is under review will bring with it the needed changes. Then future applications, 2019 to 2022, will further that development process until eventually, after potentially years of modifications and throwing applications at the SEC, we will get a Bitcoin ETF. It could very well be a long process, so be wary of anyone that says we'll see one in 2018, 2019, whatever, because it seems a bit delusional to think that any one person that isn't an SEC commissioner, praise new crypto mom Hester Pierce, can really know when a Bitcoin ETF will be approved. Blocked.com has a good article to further the details on this current ETF situation and outright says that this current CBOE application will be denied. Obviously, this has been a huge talking point, this current application that the CBOE filed in June. The deadline for approval is now September 30th, but it can be extended into February or March of next year, by which the filing must be approved or denied. Many investors believe that the SEC's decision on this ETF could make or break Bitcoin, at least in the short term. A common narrative is that the ETF approval will lead to a trend reversal for Bitcoin. Hallelujah, sending it back into a bull market like the one seen in the second half of 2017. Another belief is the denial will lead to further drops and yearly lows for Bitcoin, with a long road to recovery ahead. So the 25 Bitcoin that it costs is going to be roughly $200,000 at the current $8,000 per Bitcoin. Is around 200K depending on the price of Bitcoin, of course. In the filing, it states the sponsor expects that the shares will be purchased primarily by institutional and other substantial investors, hedge funds, family offices, private wealth managers, and high net worth individuals that will provide additional liquidity and transparency to the Bitcoin market in a regulated vehicle such as the trust. It was intentionally overpriced, as it says in the filing again, with an estimated initial per share price equivalent to 25 Bitcoin. The shares will be cost prohibitive for smaller retail investors while allowing larger and generally more sophisticated institutional investors to gain exposure to the price of Bitcoin, which is a good thing. It's an attractive thing, and I think it's going to be a requirement for whichever Bitcoin ETF does eventually get through. With what's going on with Bancor, with a number of these scalable solutions really coming into prominence, the assets are going to continue to be developed and partnerships will continue to be made. Ripple's making a lot of progress in cross-border payments. Stellar Lumens is coming in to try to compete with that of Ripple in some regards, in some limited markets. A lot of countries are piloting this blockchain technology and really seeing what it is capable of. Now is a pivotal time for the rest of the world, the blockchain naive part of this world, to see the potential in this space. And we need to acquire more investors. We need to acquire more developers to really work on and achieve the reality that this space could have. This channel, Crypto Blessing, is for people interested in this cryptocurrency revolution that is slowly happening. I don't know what a Bitcoin ETF is going to do to this market, if it's going to come at all. Looking at what this Winklevoss rejection did or what it seemingly catalyzed, I can just imagine what the number of rejections from the next few applications of a Bitcoin ETF are going to do to the market, forcing it to endure more bearish activity despite a ton of development still happening. Bitcoin is still the flagship asset, and with over half of the market being Bitcoin, it plays a large role in what the rest of the market is going to do. I really do hope this space can do what it's capable of doing in transforming the way money works. Even if the CBOE Bitcoin ETF is rejected, even if it causes us to endure another 6 months of bearish activity, when it does eventually get rejected, I do believe in the longevity of this space. A lot has to happen between now and mass adoption actually happening, but I will most definitely be here to watch in amazement and see this space evolve into whatever it will. And I encourage all of you to join me and comment below what kinds of videos you would like to see. Did you like this Bitcoin ETF deep dive, covering what an exchange traded fund is, covering how they're not always so perfect, looking into the impact that they made in gold, and discussing the potential impact on the Bitcoin market? Although it will continue to be rejected, I do think, so the impact is only going to be negative until we actually see one get through, which won't be anytime soon. I do my best to provide the types of videos that you would like to see, so join the conversation below and let me know. Also, make sure to hit that like button. Once we hit 500 views and 50 likes, I'll be giving away some Bitcoin. Help us get to the first like threshold and I can start rolling that out every video. Hopefully the markets will continue their upward motion. Today we are seeing some natural retracements following the crazy big pump over the last 72 hours. The cryptocurrency markets and blockchain remain a marvel of technology, and I'm excited to continue to explore this market with you all. Thank you so much for your ongoing support here at Crypto Blessing, and I will see everyone very soon.